Joint Powers of Authority and the Albany City Council. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Karina Tyndall.
To the flag, States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Atkinson.
Present.
Councilmember Barnes.
Present.
Councilmember Nason.
Present.
Vice Mayor Moss.
Here.
Mayor Weil.
Here. No
Consent-
reports from, we had no closed session.
Consent calendar. Consent calendar items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. By approval of the consent calendar, the staff recommendation will be adopted unless otherwise modified by the City Council. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or a member of the audience requests removal of the items from the consent calendar.
Any items that the council wishes?
4-7.
4-7? Any other?
I think I need to abstain from the minutes of August 21st.
Okay.
And I'd like a little bit of discussion on, let's see, what is it? 411.
And members of the public, any items you wish discussed? Okay.
I'm sorry, it was 412.
412.
412.
Marge, back to you on 4-7.
I'd like to welcome one of my neighbors and an active member in our community on Key Route Boulevard is Josh Leibowitz, who has an extensive background in media and is a voiceover, I don't know, what do you call it, entrepreneur, and does a lot with videos, and I'm very happy that he's going to be on the Community Media Access Committee. So I forgot to tell him about tonight, but he's probably busy in his studio doing some important business. But anyway, I'm very happy that he's accepted.
Good, thank you. 412.
Yeah, we don't have a lot on the action agenda as far as I can see. Nothing has appeared. And 412 is an extensive amount of funds, so I thought you might want to be downloaded on what's going on with that, why this is a good thing, where the money's all coming from to pay for it, because it's a big commitment when we commit to a program like this. So.
While Tina makes her way up here in case the questions get any more technical, but in the meantime, to address the funding, the Community Development Department for a few years now has been putting away money to purchase a software system that would bring them online in many regards, including the many types of permitting that they do. A total of $256,000 had been saved towards that, and as we did our homework, realized that in order to get the full-blown system that would really bring the department into an online age of the 21st century, that's about how much it would cost, including consultants, training, so forth and so on. Also approved in the budget that council approved in June of this year was $105,000 set aside to improve the finance software, because several years ago we were in tough times. Essentially, the analogy is we bought a flip phone when we needed a smartphone, and that has turned out to be a somewhat inadequate software system to track the many types of funds and grants and so forth that we have in the city. Our new finance director is familiar with Munis, which is also a Tyler Technologies product, and it's an upgrade from the current system, the flip phone that we have, which is called Encode. So in upgrading this system, we save a lot of money because we've already purchased licenses, we've already purchased some of the maintenance that's required. As you know, maintenance can be pretty high cost for software of this size. And not only does it, we get those types of credits because we're already with Tyler Technologies, we also get the entire full-blown services that we need in community development, and it upgrades our financial software in a way that we really need to be able to track and to be transparent with our finances. If you add the 256 with the 105, we had intended on getting two separate systems that didn't necessarily talk to each other, and that was a total of $361,000. Instead, we're getting a much better system that centralizes the information, and we are asking for $307,000, which has already been saved and budgeted, and that also includes a 20% contingency.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Tina, do you want to add anything? I know the two of you had discussed this quite thoroughly. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, any other questions about this? No?
Is there a motion?
I'd move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay.
Is that not included in minutes, or,
We'll have an
without
abstention on the
minutes, right.
minutes.
okay, so just the rest, okay, I am, yes, I second.
Okay, without the minutes from, without 4-1 and
Two, right.
4-2.
Right,
Without 4-2.
Without
4-2.
4-2, we can leave in 4-1.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Councilmember Atkinson,
aye,
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Nason,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Moss,
Aye.
Mayor Weil.
Yes. And then a motion to approve the minutes of August 21st.
I so moved,
Second.
Councilmember Atkinson,
aye,
Councilmember Barnes,
Aye.
Councilmember Nason,
Abstain.
Vice Mayor Moss,
Aye.
Mayor Weil.
Yes. Next item.
Presentation, National Night Out 2014 recap.
Madam Mayor and members of council, thank you for this opportunity to provide you with a brief recap of National Night Out 2014. I wanted to kind of set it up and then pitch it over to Karina Tyndall, who can give you some hard numbers and stats on what we did this year. And we should have a slideshow playing for those people that don't want to watch me. So this year was our largest National Night Out event to date. We've been doing this now for 8 years. The first 3 years we did it, we held what amounted to a community gathering at a single location that we did up near Memorial Park on the basketball courts, on the old basketball courts at the high school. And that was a challenge that I made shortly after I became the police chief to members of my staff you have 4 weeks to put together a party for the city, make it happen. And they did. They answered that challenge. And for 3 years, we had a hugely successful National Night Out in a single location. 5 years ago, I challenged Karina Tyndall, our community engagement specialist, to push it out into the neighborhoods. We had been bringing people into our party and bribing them with food and some conversation. And what we had decided was we wanted to challenge our community block by block to start enjoying this event. So the premise for National Night Out is that it's a night out generally for crime prevention. But our approach is that we derive two large benefits out of it. The first being that it strengthens the relationships between city staff and the residents in our community. And it's not just police that go out there, as you all know. It's a mix of city staff from virtually every department in the city, members of council. We have a consistent community volunteer who also goes out with us. And that interaction with city staff, those opportunities to interact in the neighborhoods, is half of the value that we get out of this. The other half, the second value, is derived from the relationships that the neighbors themselves build among themselves. We get community resiliency, and those relationships help us not only with crime prevention, but with disaster preparedness and with just neighborhood quality of life. Huge benefits that we derive from this program. Just this week, I was forwarded a voicemail that came in to a member of my staff that was a thank you from someone who he had spoken with during National Night Out this year, because an issue that she had raised, kind of not a crime issue, but a quality of life issue in the neighborhood, has already been acted on and positive change happening in the neighborhood, and she was so thankful for that. And that all came about because of this interaction that we were able to do back in early August. So we could not do this without the support of City Council and without tremendous support from virtually every staff member in the city that comes out and helps us and helps prepare for that night. So I think Karina has a story and a couple of things to share, so I'm going to turn it over to Karina.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. I just wanted to give you a quick recap of some of the events of that night. There were a record 35 block parties that participated. This is a new record for us. Attendance counts from the host organizers put totals at over 2,000 people participating, which is about a tenth of our population, which is great for a Tuesday evening. And Chief McQuiston was correct that there were volunteers from all the city departments this year and members of council. And it was just great seeing everyone out there in their bright blue polo shirts interacting with residents. There were also a majority of our neighborhood watch blocks. 13 neighborhood watch blocks participated. This number continues to grow, and there were 8 new blocks that participated who'd never done it before. Also, Domino's did a great job, and we'll talk about them more soon, but they donated 2 large pizzas to each block. And overall, it was our biggest and I think one of our most successful National Night Outs yet. I just wanted to tell a short story to kind of help understand, because sometimes the numbers tell a story, but sometimes also the real personal interactions tell a story. So this is my favorite National Night Out story. I started doing this in organizing National Night Out in 2009, and we went to a block. Oh, there was a new resident. A new resident moved in and wanted to have a block party. And she heard about National Night Out, and there's a free street closure. So she signed up, and she tried to talk to neighbors, but didn't get much of a response. So they decided to have a National Night Out party, but not close the street. They didn't want to bother anybody. So we went to their block, and there was just a few neighbors who were sitting in lawn chairs in a driveway visiting. It's kind of, 6 or 8 people, not a very big party. And a woman said, "Come over here." And I went over to her chair, and she leaned in, and she said, "I've lived here for 25 years. We've never had a block party. Thank you so much." And it just really touched my heart because it was very sincere and heartfelt. So the follow-up to this story is that this year, when I was encouraging blocks to register for National Night Out, there's kind of a new block captain on that particular block. And I mentioned National Night Out, and his response was, "Oh yeah, we do that every year. It's a tradition." And it just really made me feel good that something that previously they had not ever done now is considered a yearly tradition and an opportunity for neighbors to all come together and look forward to. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we'll be having a special presentation from Chief McQuiston to thank to thank Tom Van Zyl for the help from Domino's Pizza every year.
So we have a proclamation tonight. When we first pushed our event out into the neighborhoods, one of our first local businesses to partner with us in trying to encourage people to have these block parties each year was Domino's Pizza and Tom Van Zyl. And so Tom has been a great supporter, and I'm going to read the proclamation. It's going to say all these things in kind of that formal proclamation language, but I just want to illustrate, or not illustrate, but I want to emphasize, come on up, Tom. I want to emphasize ahead of time, before we get all formal, how much we appreciate Tom's support of what we do. I know that we are not the only organization that Tom Van Zyl and Albany's Domino's Pizza supports throughout the year in the community, but we are grateful for that. And so, Tom, I am going to read this to you here. This is City of Albany proclamation in honor of Tom Van Zyl and Albany Domino's Pizza for 5 years of generous support to the Albany Police Department's annual National Night Out event. Whereas Albany Domino's Pizza was the first locally owned business to partner with the Albany Police Department in presenting the annual Block by Block National Night Out event in 2009. And whereas Tom Van Zyl and Albany Domino's Pizza have generously supported National Night Out for 5 consecutive years. And whereas Tom Van Zyl and Albany Domino's Pizza have provided hundreds of pizzas and lava cakes. I'm going to break here for a moment to say I don't know what it is, but I hear they're wonderful.
They're pretty good.
They're pretty good, okay. Lava cakes free of charge to the families and neighborhoods of Albany for participating in National Night Out. And whereas Tom Van Zyl and Albany Domino's Pizza have continued to show strong support for this important community building event, even while the number of participating neighborhood block parties has steadily increased. And whereas Tom Van Zyl and Albany Domino's Pizza continue to generously support the Albany Police Department's various community engagement programs and the Albany Police Activities League, now therefore be it proclaimed that the Albany City Council wishes to express its gratitude and appreciation to Tom Van Zyl and Albany Domino's Pizza for the generous support and steadfast commitment they have demonstrated to the city's effort to engage our diverse community and to the well-being of the neighborhoods of Albany. And it's signed Joanne Weil, Mayor. Yeah, it was. You want, shall you? Okay. Should we shake or stand? We'll stand. Oh. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to say a few words?
No, just not really. I'm not much of a public speaker. I just want to say, you know, I was born and raised in this town, Albany High School, 81. And anything I can do to help out the city and most especially the police department, I just love to do. So
That's great of you. Thank you so
my
much.
pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, tonight's Fire and Police Appreciation Night. We'll go on to the next item.
Be the Match Firefighter Challenge update.
My presentation isn't quite as spiffy. I have to change it by myself. Hey, cops are awesome. First off, I want to thank you guys for supporting us. Let us come up and tell you how our Be the Match donation drive is going right now. Let me talk a little bit about the Be the Match Foundation. First off, the Be the Match, one of the donor recipients actually came up with the idea of putting the different Bay Area fire departments in competition with each other to see who could raise the most money for bone marrow donor research and also raise funds for the program. It's a pretty expensive thing to do all the testing and line up donors and recipients together. The Albany Fire Departments were competing with several different agencies. San Francisco is trying to get the most. I hope we knock them off. That's going to be a long shot, but we're hoping. What this does, for thousands of people diagnosed every year with life-threatening blood cancers like leukemia and lymphoma, it's a cure if a cure exists. Over the last 25 years, Be the Match has managed the largest and most diverse marrow registry in the world. They work every day to save lives through transplant. How they help the patients is they connect patients with the life-saving bone marrow donors. They support patients, caregivers, and families. They provide clinical education for healthcare professionals and conduct research that is saving many, many lives. Every 4 minutes, someone is diagnosed with a bone cancer. For many of these patients, a marrow transplant is their only hope for a cure, yet most patients do not have a matching donor in their family. We have this right here. It tells the story of one local boy. Baylor is an 8-year-old little league from Albany, California, battling leukemia for the second time. His spirit and smile have stolen hearts, including ours. Patients most likely match someone with the same ancestry. And Bay's ancestry is a mixed Asian and Caucasian, making his search for a marrow match very challenging. Rally for Bay and the other mixed race participants in the Be the Match update. How we can help, really what they need is they need money. We've made a goal of raising $5,000 and try to get, was it 500? 500 people signed up into the registry. She's got an update of where we're on right there. I'm pretty proud to say my son actually has been approached and was a donor for someone. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way, but being a family member of somebody that's actually got the call and go through all the testing stuff, if you get the opportunity to do that, it's a touching thing. So, get the other part. Your turn. They hit our pictures. The first big event we did, we had initially had a kickoff. All the departments got together and we just talked about what our goals were. And as most firemen are, we were fairly competitive with each other, so there was a lot of exciting banter between each other. Our first fundraiser and donor drive was actually at Golden Gate Fields recently, where we were thankful to have the mayor and vice mayor come give us a hand with that. Thank you both. And together we raised quite a bit of money from that, got quite a few more donors. And our next big one would be, we have a booth set up at Solana Stroll. And Ms. Denton is going to give all that information.
We are going to be set up on the nonprofit block between Key Route and Pomona, in front of Soccer Basics, right next to Relay for Life. I'm going to be doing both of them. And we're hoping to get more donors to sign up there. The main, let's see, they need people between the ages of 18 and 44. That is the best, health-wise, they get the best donations that way. They will accept people 45 to 61. You have to register online and pay $100, and the reason is they have to do a lot more testing to make sure that the health of the individual is good enough to make a good match for the children, or anybody that needs a donor, not just children. Anything else? And we raised $481 in tips at Golden Gate Fields. We did really well. Plus the $1,000 that Golden Gate Fields gave us for selling the concessions. Right now, well, as of then, we were ahead money-wise. I think we still are ahead money-wise, but San Jose Firefighters Association did a drive at San Jose State University over the weekend, I guess it was, and they got 48 donors. So we had 18 at Golden Gate Fields, but it's good that we're getting them. So we urge everybody to take part in this any way you can. Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Oh,
What? Go ahead.
and if there's any hesitation about signing up with a donor, they just have some basic questions. It's not a painful thing. You actually have a Q-tip, and you do the four corners of your mouth, so it's not a painful thing. They have your basic registry then, and after experiencing it, they did the same thing with my son. If they find somebody through that initial match, then they do blood testing, and there's one other test you do a little bit later on as you get closer and closer. So it's a completely pain-free thing to be on the donor list, and we hope we'll see everybody up there on the Solana Stroll.
Good. Thank you both. Our next item.
Go to the city public forum announcement. For a person desiring to address the city council on an item that's not on the agenda. Please note that city policy limits each speakers up to 3 minutes. The mayor may reduce the time limit per speaker depending on the number of speakers. The Brown Act limits the council's ability to take and/or discuss items that are not on the agenda. Therefore, such items are normally referred to staff for comments or to a future agenda. And there are speaker cards in the back if anybody would like to speak.
Okay, first speaker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Robert Chasey. I'm here to raise an issue, and we can't discuss it at length tonight, but there's an issue that has come to my attention where people who operate at home from other cities want an association with a space, a commercial space, and so you'll get a virtual tenant. And Albany hasn't yet adjusted for what kind of licensing that person should need or how to charge that person. So it's a low impact, almost no impact use for the town, and people's primary offices are away from Albany, but they choose for one reason or another to be connected to a local business or a local establishment. And it's something that I would like to bring to the council and have us consider in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Brian Parker. I picked up, I don't read the Journal all the time. They never leave it on my front porch. So I managed to see it yesterday, and I read the article about, I guess, Nan Wishner's correspondence with the council about we should somehow, I don't know, have an election even though we don't need an election. And what I want to do is just go on record and thank the council for doing what I think was the right thing. I don't think we need an election. If somebody wanted to run, they could have filed their papers. And I want to thank Nick Pilch and Rochelle and Peggy for filing, and wish you guys much success in the new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. Back to the city council. Any comments about meetings? Okay.
I'm going to hand out the latest issue of California Agriculture. I think it's interesting. It's all about water efficiency, an issue that the city cares about, and also new ways to use recycled water.
Very important. Thank you. Okay, you're delayed as a speaker. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, do you want to come up here?
Go ahead and.
Announce something for Bill Kane?
We're at the end, but go ahead.
Do you want to announce it first, or did you want, because I was going to speak in regard to Bill.
Go ahead and do that.
Okay,
And then
thanks.
I was going to do it at the end, but yes.
Well, I thought this was the end, according to my attorney here.
No, go ahead.
I'm here just to talk about Bill Kane, who passed away last week. He was a dear friend and my structural engineer. I'm an architect. I'm Jerry Holan. I live at 833 Carmel Avenue. And I've been lucky to work with Bill for many, many years. And so I just want to kind of say a few words, less than 3 minutes, I hope. So this is to Bill with love. He was a former mayor here, and I met him when he had just recently been removed as a zoning commission, the zoning chair of the zoning commission. I don't want to die as long as I can work. The minute I can't, I want to go. That quote by Susan B. Anthony in 1896 is really how Bill lived his life. As an engineer, a father, and a great friend. His love was expressed through his work, and to me, Bill was 30 to 40% of my design staff. He was my best source of support as a single mom, and he was always my comrade in the trenches. I met Bill over 23 years ago when I was a new mom in Albany. We had both recently been removed from our commissions for opposing a local casino, and we both thought the removal was unfair. So we successfully wrote and passed a popular charter amendment that prevented council persons from from dismissing volunteers except for cause. A year later, I received a cease and desist order from Bill, as in, don't contact me again, during the heated casino campaign. Another few years go by, and he was our best man on the Albany-Berkeley Ferry Transit campaign. In spite of all the politics, I was an architect and he was an engineer, and we eventually became good work partners. I can still hear Bill saying, "Jerry, I know you've removed most of the walls in the house, but did you leave me enough space for a couple of shear walls?" And we also became good friends. I remember Bill testifying at my divorce hearing as a structural engineer, an Albany school board member, and a former mayor. As he left the stand, the judge commented, "I don't believe I've ever seen anyone wear so many hats." No one ever did, at least not as successfully as Bill. It was an honor and a privilege to work with him. He won a number of national awards for huge engineering projects, but still seemed proud of the humble design awards we received for my old houses. He worked on state campaigns, but always had time to support my daughter's Girl Scout cookie drives, her high school fundraisers, and band performances. When I was going through my empty nest stage and trying to figure out who I was and what to do with myself now, it was Bill who reminded me to go have fun, go do all the things I hadn't been doing as a parent. Oh yeah, thanks, Bill. So when I think of Bill, I know what the expression means that one's acquaintances may fill the world, but one's true friends are but a few. For 23 years, Bill has always been there for me, as he was for everyone. And now he's not. Bill never said no to anything I could ever imagine, and now he can't. But I am so grateful to have shared his journey for a while. He left the world a better place and me a better person. As he continues his travels into the next world, I am sure Bill is working to make it better there too. And as I move forward in this world without Bill, it feels a little lonely. I feel a lot like Lulu did when in 1967, she sang "To Sir" with love. How do you thank someone who has taken you from crayons to perfume? When you leave, I feel like I'm leaving my best friend, a friend who taught me right from wrong and weak from strong. That's a lot to learn. What can I give you in return? I would rather give you my heart. Thank you, Bill. With love, Jerry.
Thank you so much for that tribute. There were a number of people attended the memorial service that Sunday, and Marge was there, myself, Lonnie Hancock, Tom Bates, a number of people just also from our staff, and people talked about his many, many contributions to our community and the building of the Albany Community Center, the middle school, the high school, plus so many other infrastructure contributions. So thank you, Jerry, that was really a wonderful tribute. Okay, next item. Oh, did you finish? Okay.
Other business, reports on meetings attended, announcement of events, future agenda items.
Do you want to mention some of the things in September that are on their way?
Our biggest event coming up would be the Albany Local Week, which ends with the big bang of the Dinner with Albany, which is on Saturday, September 27th. And then starting tomorrow night, we have our concerts in the park every Wednesday night. We have some bikes around town on Fridays, and we have our regular running group on Sundays. So there is a lot going on for the month of September. And an opportunity to be the Albany Uber and have the perpetual trophy for doing the most things in Albany for our Albany Local Week.
Okay. And then we'll be hosting the Mayor's Conference next Wednesday. So we're looking forward to a performance from the Albany High School singers. Okay, we'll be adjourning then in honor of Bill Kane, who was a former mayor and also a member of the school board. So we could have a moment of silence together in his honor. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.